Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Just one more drop. Everyone all set, cocked, locked, blissed? Here we go. Your dial's set correctly to USAPrepares.com. Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
Yes.
And class, if you'd like to call in and chat with Dr. Norman Shealy, medical doctor, 866-582-9933, 866-582-9933. And this is where converging threats are confronted daily by your instructors. I'm Vincent Finelli, and John is engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. Dr. Shealy, I got a call from Miles this morning. Miles is in Europe. He is one of our senior instructors. And Dr. Shealy, you, of course, are a senior instructor. And he said he wanted to call in and chat with us. And I said, that'd be great. So we're expecting his call. And if you have some medical concerns or issues and you'd like to call us, 866-582-9933. Dr. Shealy, I want to thank you personally for helping on the telephone with my mom on Thanksgiving. And she had a terrible bout. She ultimately, we found out what was wrong. She had a urinary tract infection, and it became so serious that it was in her blood, and she was admitted to Mercy Hospital, which we now refer to as No Mercy, and they treated her with Levaquin, which is a pretty powerful antibiotic, and she's home now. And but I can tell you, Dr. Shealy, about neglect at the hospital. It is the most serious thing I've ever seen. No Mercy Hospital has a, I don't even know what you call it. The way they staff the nurses and the aides, they work 12-hour shifts. And if you see the same nurse 2 days in a row, that's a miracle. And I don't like that. I like it when you see the same faces over and over again, because in my opinion, when you see the same nurse on Monday and on Tuesday and on Wednesday and on Thursday, that nurse may have 5 patients. And that nurse would say, whoa, I see a change since 20 minutes ago. Something's wrong. And they can act immediately. Or they can say, wow, there's a great positive change since yesterday. Things are working right. And they can report that to the doctor. But without the continuity of staff, there's no way. Wow, there's a helicopter flying over the farm. That's unusual. Without that continuity, that component of change in a person is missing. What do you think about that?
You're asking for common sense.
I am.
And ethics.
Mm-hmm.
What planet are you living on? Have you decided who you are?
Well,
you expect merciless to have mercy?
I started to relate the story about, and I didn't tell it exactly, but I mentioned that Mercy wanted to advertise on a radio station where you were broadcasting as a medical doctor. Now we're talking about Mercy Hospital in Springfield, Missouri. Can you share that story, Dr. Shealy? Would you like to?
It was still St. John's at that time. And one of my agreements with KWTO is that there would be nothing related to medicine or health advertised immediately before or during or immediately after my particular program. So one day, immediately, I'm talking about half a second before my program, there was an ad for their medical insurance program. So when it came on, I said, well, folks, I have to tell you, I cannot recommend St. John's Medical Hospital Insurance Program. I would suggest Cox is better. St. John stopped $60,000 of ads on KWTO. And there have been no more medical or health ads immediately around my program.
Well, it's and it only took one advertisement showing up for you to do that? Wow. Okay. Well, I was accused of having a very short fuse. And when I was broadcasting on KWTO, I followed your broadcast. And by the way, that's how Dr. Shealy and I met. And so I said there was a coin company that was advertising. Well, here's what happened. The first day I was broadcasting, my very first day, I was in the studio, and there was a commercial for erectile dysfunction. First break.
Be prepared.
And I took my headphones off, and I was stomping around the studio like, who approved that? How did that commercial get on my show? And I was livid, absolutely livid. The engineer's looking at me like, what's with you? And so after the broadcast, I went into the front office and I said, hey, who approved this? What's going on? And they said, like, who are you? You just got here. Who are you to make these demands about what kind of commercials run on your broadcast? And so that was the last time that they ran that commercial. And then they had another commercial for a storage shed company. And in my opinion, it was not very well done. And it was the equivalent of a 6-year-old talking about, storage sheds. And I said, I don't mind the storage shed commercial, but I do mind the way it was produced, and it's not professional, and I want it done right if it's going to be on my show, or it can't be. They said, you don't understand, this guy's been advertising for years. I said, it's not my concern how long he's been advertising. If he's going to be advertising on my show, I want it done right. And so ultimately they fixed that. But later on, they asked me about this coin company. They wanted to advertise this particular coin company, and I said, absolutely not. I know the guy who owns it. I am not comfortable with him. I do not want that. I do not want my listeners thinking that I endorse that particular company.
Oh, you missed the golden opportunity.
No, actually, I didn't.
I'm teasing.
So here's what happened. The first time I heard it, I called the front office and I said, "Look, that's not going to work. And if you do it again, I am going to be likely to talk about it. Second time, third time, fourth time. The fifth time it happened, I told him every time, don't do it. And the senior sales guy said, hey, Vinny, come on. They're such a great advertiser. It's a great fit for your program. You like gold and silver, and they are in the gold and silver business and be a wonderful fit. Please, please, please. And I said, absolutely not, because I know the guy. I know the owner, and I'm not going to recommend him. And so on the fifth time that it happened, I said, that's it. That's it. Look, I don't recommend, I don't support, I don't endorse doing business with this company. I do not want them advertising on my show. I've mentioned it to the front office, and I don't know why it's advertising, but I am not recommending this company. That was one of the, between that, my giving out the phone number for Greg Burris, the city manager, talking about the Chinese factory outlet, and the Baptist church that called the police on me twice with the assistance of a local talk show host in Springfield, Missouri. Those things got me in the front office, and I got what's called the Velvet Hammer. The Velvet Hammer is, hey, Vinny, we love you. They love you. We love you. They love you. Everybody loves you. You're doing great. Hey, you know what? If if you talk about these things, that'd be wonderful. Like who's got the best hamburgers in Springfield? And if you talk about donuts and things like that, that's great radio. And by the way, it'd be good if you didn't talk about Ridgecrest Baptist Church. It'd be good if you didn't talk about the Chinese factory outlet, Walmart. It'd be good if you didn't talk about that coin company. And I thought it was just a suggestion. And it was not a suggestion. So if you're wondering why they don't even remember who I am over there at that radio station, even the owner would come to see me every time I went on the air in the studio. He'd come over and he'd say, "Who are you going to complain about today?" And now when people say, "You know a guy named Finelli?" I've heard of him, but I never met him. That's the response. But anyway, I think that was why I am no longer broadcasting in Springfield, Missouri at that particular radio station. So I wanted to share that with you. Dr. Shealy, so Merciless Hospital or No Mercy Hospital, I have called the CEO's office, and I am unable to talk with the CEO. I'm unable to talk with the CFO. I'm unable to talk with the COO. The only people who will talk to me are what they call patient safety. And I figured out what patient safety is. Patient safety is the new name for risk management. Risk management is the name for the department that deals with customers that they think are outraged, have a gripe, and just may bring the hospital to court. Those are the patient safety people. And they're interested in extracting information from us who have been abused, or our family members have been abused, or our loved ones have been abused by the hospital, and they want to find out how much risk there is with this particular case or this particular customer or patient. And those are the only people who will talk to me. And when I've called the hospital, Dr. Shealy, and I get transferred to them, they will not give their last names. They will only give their first names, and they say they're not allowed to give their last name. What kind of nonsense is that? They're running, they're hiding, they're afraid of their own patients or customers or family members. I wanted to share that with you. And we come back, we've got Greg in California. We'll take your call as soon as we come back. I'm Vin Finelli. Class Dr. Shealy's with us, and he worked at a hospital, and they were so pleased with him that they published his obituary in 1960.
Have you put that up on your website yet?
I will do that, Dr. Shealy. Greg in California, you're on with Dr. Norman Shealy. Welcome.
Pleasure to be talking to you two fellas. I hold you in high esteem.
Well, thank you very much. How can we help you?
I just wanted to confirm that everything you and John Stantonmuller were talking about yesterday about hospitals and their race to the bottom as far as money goes is true. I experienced it. I spent 35 years in one of those places. And I watched it turn into exactly what you're talking about.
Well, let me share with Dr. Shealy and the rest of our class a little bit about what we're saying. Dr. Shealy, I was talking with John Statmiller, and you've met him. He's been at the house, he's been at the farm, he's been at the expos and the meetups. And Dr. Shealy, so John Statmiller and I were on the phone last week, and I said, I'm going to do a special broadcast about what I experienced with Mercy Hospital. Would you like to join me? And he said, well, Norm Shealy would be the guy. I said, well, yeah, I knew that. And Norm Shealy is going to be on the next day. And I said, we'll get the medical opinions, the next day. That'd be Wednesday. But Tuesday, let's talk about what happened. And so we did. And then at the end of the broadcast, we talked about mercy, and we talked about the lack of care and the lack of compassion, and how the staff is not paying attention. We just touched the tip of this iceberg. And at the end of the broadcast, at the end of the 2 hours, John Statmiller invited me to be on with him for another 2 hours on his radio show on his network, which we did. And I believe that's what you're talking about, Greg, right?
That's correct, sir. And an iceberg It is. It could sink a fleet of Titanics.
All right, let's talk about what you know.
I've experienced these hospitals become basically giant corporations, where they retain their name like Mercy, like the one you went to, but they're really under a giant bigger umbrella of another corporation, and they're just using that name because it's a familiar name. And
Well, I can tell you you're absolutely right, because as I read the back of this business card from Lacey Phillips, who is the nurse manager of 3D Medical at Mercy Hospital, Springfield, Missouri, the back of her business card is imprinted with these words: "As the Sisters of Mercy before us, we bring to life the healing ministry of Jesus through our compassionate care and exceptional service."
I would consider that fraudulent advertising.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I hope that, well, I'm quite sure that their lawyers are listening, and I'm looking forward to them contacting us. Yeah, I'm looking forward to them contacting us, because whatever we do, I will expose it as we are doing it. Okay?
I know. I had to laugh really hard when you mentioned you invited that nursing supervisor to come on, because there's no way she's going to come on your show.
She won't even answer my calls.
Exactly.
No, I think that they have this system in place where if they see my phone number calling in, I'm serious. I think that if they see it, they say, "Oh, that's Finelli. Okay, transfer him to patient safety," which is risk management.
Oh yeah, they do. Oh yeah, you're a marked man there.
Mm-hmm. And so what have you seen? Well, actually, what is your role in?
I was a hospital engineer.
Okay, what does that mean?
We make the building run, take care of heating, air conditioning, run boilers, do repairs, add services to rooms. You know, they need electricity, computer wires. I mean, everything.
What kinds of things have you seen that you went home and told your family, "Oh man, you won't believe what happened today"? What kind of things did you see?
Well, it's all about liability there on one hand, but then if you have a big emergency or a crisis, it's just do whatever you have to do to get it fixed. And right or wrong, do whatever you have to do to get it fixed. And
have you seen doctors protecting doctors when they make mistakes?
Well, it's very compartmentalized in that area. You rarely know, being in my position. They only tell you just enough to do your job. They got everybody scared there that they're going to lose their job. I know I've had, when I went to get the flu vaccine and you start asking questions, they blow you off. They won't talk to you. The health and safety nurses.
One of our health and safety, one of our instructors is an emergency room doctor, and he said that he's being forced to take a vaccine, and they're going to test him to make sure he took it. And if he doesn't take it, they will fire him as an emergency room medical doctor.
Exactly.
Greg, would you like to stick around through the break?
Sure.
Okay. Dr. Shealy's with us. Greg in California, hospital engineer. We'll be right back. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us. NormShealy.com. 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 And please sign up for the same free newsletter that I get. Greg in California is with us. He's a hospital engineer. And Dr. Shealy and Greg, let me share something with you, and I'd like Greg to comment, and then Dr. Shealy. When I was studying management at the School of Management at the university, one of the things that I learned was that you can measure how well a corporation is doing very, very quickly without looking at the numbers. If you go into the cafeteria, and the cafeteria is noisy and boisterous, and people are laughing and smiling, and there's a lot of fun and exuberance there, the company's probably doing well. If you go into the cafeteria and everybody's really quiet, it's probably a blame-finding organization that's not doing well. So my question for Greg, and the reason I asked you to go first, is what have you seen over the years in the cafeteria relating to not the patients, but the employees? Have you seen a change over the years in the happiness as exhibited by the noise in the cafeteria with the employees and the discussions that they have among each other, and the chatting in the elevators, those kinds of things, then and now? Have you seen a change?
Well, of course I have. And one thing you have to keep in mind is that these hospitals, they're not like any other kind of corporate economic activity that you've been involved with. They're their own special breed. I mean, you can come and pay your money and expect satisfaction, but you might not get it. And there's And as you might find out, there ain't much you can do about it. But yeah, I have. They also they want a climate of quietness. They don't want you to be boisterous and do what you were talking about. They'll actually come and talk to you and tell you to keep it down because they want it to be quiet there so they can promote the healing environment. And
well, I can understand. I can understand if the employees are in the same room as the patients, and a couple guys or gals or guys and gals are joking and laughing it up, and 3 tables over, there's someone who is going through the last stages of life, and so I can understand that. But I'm trying to differentiate that from those who you might be working with and having fun and kind of sharing some of your experiences at home on the weekend, something that you might have seen in the movies or television, or a book you've read, or something you've done, and just share some fun things. And that's what I've seen in decline in America over 3 decades. And I'm wondering if you've seen the same thing in your circles, not where you're forced not to.
Well, yeah, because these corporations have been reorganized so many times. You're probably not going to find someone like me who worked 35 years in one place. Everyone's floating around, trying to get the best deal they can, the most money they can for their time. A lot of these nurses are contract nurses who have no loyalty to the hospital. Their only loyalty is to their pocketbook, and they travel around from place to place.
That's a real problem. Dr. Shealy, what are your thoughts?
Well, as you know, I sort of gave up on hospitals over 40 years ago.
Yes.
In fact, interestingly, yesterday, our farm foreman called his wife, who also manages our business, and said he was going into town and he saw an ambulance coming this way with no lights on and wanted to be sure I was okay. And I said, he need not worry. If I get to the stage where I can't take care of myself, I don't want to go to a hospital. I'd rather recycle.
Dr. Shealy, I believe that there are a few ways that you can accelerate one's death. One is to join the military and become a target. 2 is to be stopped by the police for some kind of a papers encounter, like license and registration. Or 3, go to the hospital.
Unfortunately, that is true.
I think those are like 3 of the best ways to die. Greg, do you have any other comments you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I wanted to get Dr. Shealy's opinion on some of my opinions.
I love it. Go ahead.
One of my mantras is, I'm going to stay home and die in peace. I'm not going to the hospital.
Well, that is definitely, I think that was exactly what I was describing. I've told my kids, if they call and I don't answer the phone, they leave a message, don't come over for at least a week. I want to be sure I'm dead before you get here.
And I'm losing track of my thoughts here. One more I got. Hospitals are the most dangerous, unorganized places on the planet. I heard that on a comedian show, and the comedians were talking about the hospital I worked at.
Well, I'm not sure. I think there's the White House.
Boy, there's definitely double-minded men there. It's scary. It's scary. It's something I'm passionate about. I get told to shut up every time I start talking about things. I admire you fellas. At least you're willing to talk about stuff.
Greg, thank you for so much for calling in today.
All right, I could talk more, but I don't want to take up all your time.
Hey, Greg, you're right on. Thanks for calling.
Feel free to call in anytime.
I've never called anybody before. Never felt anybody was worthy of calling.
Wow.
In my search for the truth,
we're flattered.
Well, you should be, because we're just outnumbered and overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what, I'm like you, I don't know what happened. It's like he woke up on another planet.
Well, Greg, let me share this with you and Dr. Shealy. I was on the tractor this morning, and what I do before the broadcast is I feed the cows a couple thousand pounds of hay, literally 2,000 pounds of hay before the broadcast, and I feed them again after the broadcast. And so I'm on the tractors every day. And this morning I was thinking how bad it's going to be. Yes, we're outnumbered, but there's a silver lining in this dark cloud of all these people who are doing all these bad things to us. They can't possibly survive what's coming because they are fully dependent on the system. There's no way that they can all survive. So it's kind of a self-limiting thing. These guys that are doing all these things to us, they won't be around. They can't be around because without electricity, they're going to die.
Yep.
You raised a very, very interesting question that came in one of Joey's emails this morning about flushing the toilet in a situation like that. If you've got no water coming into your house, how are you going to take care of just that simple waste product?
Right. That's a real problem. And that came to mind as well. I was looking at the internet, and there was a post about this Cold War era bunker that this guy uncovered in his backyard. And yes, he had an air tube to allow air to exit, and didn't show the whole bunker. But a real problem is, everybody's got to pee and everybody's got to poo. Well, what do you do in that situation in that bunker? Are you in there for 20 minutes? I don't think so. Are you in there for a day? I don't think so. If it's a radiological problem, you might be in there for a couple of weeks. Well, are we going to use plastic bags? That's going to be a huge problem. So for those who are thinking about bunkers, you need to have, a couple ways out of the bunker in case, the hatch gets sealed. You need to make sure that you have plenty of water, and you can get more water and food, and dispose of the waste products, so that you don't kill yourself.
Put in an old-fashioned hand pump. Have you got that?
Yeah. The problem where we live, Dr. Shealy, your well and my well are probably over a couple hundred feet down.
Yep.
And in feet. Yeah, and in Springfield, Missouri, the first level aquifer at 450 feet is contaminated. It's ruined. And so what they've had to do to provide water to the community or the village of Springfield is to drill down below that, to the aquifer below that. And that one seems to be better. And that comes from the president of a well drilling company, who's one of our instructors, Richard Linebaugh. He's told us that. So, if you think that you can just dig a hole or drill a hole or bore a hole and stick a pump in there, you may be poisoning yourself slowly or quickly. And that's why class, and it's going to sound self-serving, if you want to protect yourself, you need to have good, clean water. And you don't know what's coming. You really don't. You don't know how bad it might be. You don't know how bad the water might be. So you can test your water every day. You can test it every day before you drink it. That's kind of not practical. So just get a good, high-quality water filtration system. And the one that I recommend is by ProPure. That's the one that I like the best. And that's the one we use every day. We used to use another brand, and we like the ProPure the best. Seriously. This is not a commercial, it's an endorsement. So regardless of where you get your water filtration system from, please consider ProPure. Greg, do you have any stories that you'd like to share with us? Any horror stories? Things that you've witnessed out of the corner of your eye?
I just know that, like you and John were talking about, they're racing to the bottom. And like in my experience, you'd ask for qualified technical training, and they'd basically tell you to go train yourself. You'd get a very limited amount of qualified technical training, and the management might get upset if that qualified technical training took too long and took you away from your duties as assigned, because that's what it all, the bottom line of your job description is duties as assigned. So we can.
All right, let me ask you this as a hospital engineer. Oxygen. Have you ever noticed in all the years you've been there that there was a time when oxygen supplies were dangerously low?
No, we monitored that and we made sure it was full.
Okay. Have you ever seen a situation where the power went out and it was dangerous for some of the patients?
All that every time the generator went on, yeah, it's a crapshoot.
Okay.
They're not maintaining that thing like it's a Ferrari motor. It gets a minimum amount of service, too.
Greg, thanks so much for your call.
Okay.
Class, Dr. Norman Shealy's with us, and I'd like to share something that happened this morning that ties directly with what Dr. Shealy did at some of our meetups. Dr. Shealy offered his medical expertise at several of our meetups, and he offered a free blood pressure clinic and medical test. And what he did was he measured the blood pressure of anyone who wanted to come into the restaurant. And he spent a lot of time testing people's blood pressure, writing down what their blood pressure was. There was a waiting line, like 15 minutes long at any point in time, just to get a person's blood pressure tested. And then Dr. Shealy offered a sample of something called Kyani. That's the brand, Kyani. And the specific product is called Nitro Extreme, NITRO XTREME. And I saw this, and Dr. Shealy repeated the results, or announced the results to us of each of these trials that he did publicly, right then and there. And our family has been on Kyani Nitro Extreme and some of the other Kyani products as well every day. And I just want to share with Dr. Shealy some of the numbers from this morning. So before my mom got up and we had her, we are constantly trying to improve her health as a result of the damage that the hospital did to her, No Mercy Hospital in Springfield, Missouri. And her blood pressure this morning after she got up and sat down and was 164/84. We gave her a glass of water and 3 half droppers of Kyani Nitro Extreme, and we tested her blood pressure 15 minutes later, which is about the time that Dr. Shealy was interested in seeing the results of 15 to 30 minutes after Kyani Nitro Extreme. Her blood pressure went from 164/84 to 144/72 in 15 minutes. Dr. Shealy, so my question is that the kind of results that you saw when we had the meetups and we did those tests?
Yes, absolutely typical. At least 70% of people get that kind of result. And incidentally, the best result with a combination of antihypertensive drugs up to 3 is about 45% get some control of blood pressure. And if you're a man, you get an ED. And if you're anybody, you get fatigue. But other than that, the drugs aren't too bad.
Well, and that's why we don't want anyone in our family on these drugs that you're mentioning. And when my mom was at the hospital, the pharmacist came into the room and he said, okay, I'm the pharmacist. I said, great. How can I help you? And he said, well, I have these list of drugs your mom's on. And he read them off, and I said, no, she's not on those. And he got to furosemide, which is Lasix, and I said, we have that here in case of an emergency. We might give her 1/4 of a tablet, but we haven't done that for 30 days. And it's a very low dose anyway. But that's only if she has fluid buildup, or we think she does. Anyway, and that would be not something that she would get very often. So I explained that to him. So what does the hospital do? The nurse comes in and gives her blood pressure medicine. And she starts coughing with this very wet cough, which is why she's not on those blood pressure medicines, because of the complications that they cause. And I told the nurse, what are you guys doing? We turn our backs for a second, and then you guys do this. We already went through this. Her chart says no, and you do it anyway. And so what do? They do it again. Dr. Shealy, they're not paying attention. And I explained Kyani Nitro Extreme. No one has heard of it. No one's heard of it. No nurses, no doctors, nobody's heard of it. And I said, just watch what happens. And I showed them. But they don't pay attention. We'll be right back. Everyone all set, cocked, locked, blissed. Hour number 2 of USAPrepares.com. By the way, class, if you want to share bliss with loved ones, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. And the bliss that I use in the studio that just puts a grin on my face every day is Air Bliss. Dr. Shealy, we have Miles calling in from Europe. Miles called me this morning, and he said he wanted to call and talk with one of his heroes, Dr. Norm Shealy. Miles, welcome.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Howdy.
Good morning to the lighter side of Omnicide and its discovery.
Miles, did I say that right? Dr. Shealy is one of your heroes?
Of course he is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What's up?
I wanted to, I promised you to come back with the reporting on what happened with our 3 probons that increased our alkalinity and went on almost the same regime that I'm on. So I'm calling in to share that with you.
Great. And
So let's start with the settings of that alkalinity regime. We are now in week 4 of that process, and the test settings are: we have 3 probons, one being me already as a point of focus, what already happened to me and how they can relay things and changes in their body to me or with them. So another setting is diet settings stay the same. Everybody eats as usual. No change of habits, for example, like smoking, alcohol habits, or no additional sports or workouts, or no difference in medication. The only thing is that if somebody had an heartburn or an acid reflux, they changed to sodium bicarbonate as 1 tablespoon in a glass of water to counter that. That was the setup of the test. Proband 1 was age 21, proband 2, 44, that's me, and the third one is age 61. It was just incredible what happened. This test was very easy to start to begin with, because I was asked, how am I staying so active and not getting tired the entire day. So these 2 other gentlemen were very easy to get onto the same regime. And what we did was we put them, or what they started to use as a daily regimen was half a teaspoon of potassium carbonate in the morning in water, 200 milligrams of selenium 1 time a day, 2 milligrams of copper, 5,000 IU of vitamin D3, 1 capsulate of vitamin C 1,000 milligrams, MSM 2 number 0 capsules every day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, 1,000 milligram of L-arginine, 2 mineral tablets, and 2 00 capsules of diatomaceous earth. That was the regime that they are now the 4th week ongoing. Go ahead, Doc.
And results?
Oh, well.
Outcome?
Outcome is that. Let me start with a 21-year-old fellow. He is a roofer, son of a farmer, and he is one of our ice hockey players here. He plays 3 times a week. He's training 3 times a week, and once the 4th time they're having their weekend games. And what happened there was that they tested him with a performance diagnostic on lactate on his lactate acid from glycosis, and this works that they take a drop of blood from the ear prior to the training and in a break and after the game or after the training, in order to find out the acidity of the blood. Because every time you do something, you're doing sport, the acidity of the blood increases, so this is actually what's getting the muscles tired. So what they found out in the hockey team is that he was outperforming them in this lactate test. So now the entire ice hockey team is on a potassium carbonate bench as well. That was the first thing. The second thing is this fellow now has a deeper sleep and he's getting up faster. That was the first thing he recognized, like within the first week, and he had no sugar cravings anymore. As well as his control over how much he ate developed to the point where he just let some food even stay. He didn't want to eat anymore, and I think that changed his leptin household. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Wow. So
Sounds great.
yeah, absolutely. They're totally out of it. They couldn't believe all the other two gentlemen. They couldn't believe what's happening with them. So what then happened was that younger fellow had shorter down phases, like in the day, like after lunch. He was tired after lunch, like for 2 hours until he peaked again, and that flattened out. That he didn't get tired anymore. And the next thing what happened with him was he had his hair growth increased, especially his beard.
And that's not that is expected at this point.
Yes. Then his nightly cramps, because being an ice hockey player, being depleted very often after the games, and after they have their training, they sit together, they have a beer. Of course, this is all depleting the body, and he had issues with cramps at night. So he was waking up, and his legs started cramping, and this almost disappeared.
Well, it sounds to me as if you're doing something great.
Well, they think so as well. What then happened was, that was in the third week, he had +1 dioptrine with one eye and +1.5 with the other. And he went down on one eye to 0. So he had to go and buy new glasses.
That's a terrible side effect.
Well, he was so shocked about that his glasses weren't working for him anymore, and so he called out and said, "Hey, can that be that my eyesight changes?" He said, "Absolutely yes." Okay, so before I go further to that, Vincent, what are your thoughts on that?
This is absolutely fascinating, and I can tell you that I wrote down everything you said, but I missed one of the items. So 1/2 teaspoon potassium carbonate, 200 milligrams selenium, 200 milligrams copper.
That would be micrograms, not milligrams.
Yeah, 200 mg, microgram.
Okay, micrograms.
Milligram.
Of copper?
No, selenium. 2 milligrams of copper.
Okay, and micro, grams. Okay, 200 micrograms of selenium, 200 milligrams of copper.
No, 2 milligram. 2 milligram.
Oh, okay, I got it wrong. Okay, 2 milligrams of copper, 5,000 IU of D3, and then what was the next ingredient that you added to the study?
Okay, that was vitamin C, 1,000 milligrams a day.
1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. Okay, and then MSM 2 capsules.
Yes, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon.
Okay, and then 1,000 milligrams, is it, of arginine?
Yes.
Okay, and then 2 00 capsules of diatomaceous earth.
Exactly.
Okay, now Dr. Shealy did a study with us at Jimmy's Egg restaurant with diatomaceous earth. We provided the diatomaceous earth food grade, and I believe some of what we're talking about was the result of the diatomaceous earth alone. Dr. Shealy, more energy, more balance in the step, easier to get up in the morning. But I don't know, and the hair growth, but I don't think anyone talked about vision improvement. Did anyone mention that to you?
No.
No, I don't think that will come from the diatomaceous earth so quickly. This takes. I think the improvement of the eyesight comes from 2 different factors. That's one, the copper, the other one is the selenium, and that in combination with the MSM is probably doing the trick here.
Yeah, that was my question for Dr. Shealy. Is that what you think as well, Dr. Shealy?
Yeah. No, I agree.
Dr. Shealy, this sounds like a miracle. a miracle mixture, doesn't it, for most of us?
Well, what it really shows, I think, above everything is you almost, unless you are an exquisitely superb farmer growing 100+% of all your own food and eating a wide variety, you need some supplements.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that you need 40,000 calories a day in order to get everything into your body that you really need on a daily basis, and that made you like so round, even the Michelin man couldn't handle you then. Let me give you even more astonishing results of the 60-year one fellow, because I had a visit from his wife like 2 days ago here, and I thought she would complain, but totally different. So what happened to him was his hair started growing, like his follicles started developing on his head as well. Same thing happened to me when I started with that. But he had hemorrhoids. These pains with the hemorrhoids, that stopped. Never had that again.
Wow. Miles, and please stay with us. Dr. Shealy, this is absolutely fascinating. I'm looking forward to hearing your medical review of what this experiment, this trial that Miles is engaged in Europe. We'll be right back. Class, Dr. Shealy is with us, Dr. Norman Shealy. If you'd like to go to his website, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. There's a link to Dr. Shealy's website at usaprepares.com on the instructors tab. Miles is with us from Europe. And Miles, you've been telling us about this trial that you've done. Please continue.
Well, every time Doc Shealy is on air, I try to use my head to think about what he's saying and to research everything there, and not only to use my head as a hat rack. And so I'm trying to put that in movement, what he's only saying. And folks, I can tell you, it's working. He's a brilliant man, and he's sharing. Look, preparedness starts with your body. That's the vessel, that's the house you live in. If you don't get that house in order, forget about that. You're dying. What happened to me in the second week was that the trainer of the ice hockey team, the doctor that is the president of the ice hockey club, and the captain of the ice hockey team, they came to me, to my office, and they asked me what I did with that guy, because his performance started being better and better, and he was outperforming the others. And so we started talking, and the doctor returned to me after a couple of days, and he said, well, I had to think about our talk, because now I think that most of people are living in a hidden state of ketoacidosis. And I asked him, what did you say? And he said, well, this is like people are starving alive, and it's going to our performance already. And I think he's right.
Well, all I could say is good on you, mate, as the Australians would say.
Okay, let me share what happened with our 61-year-old fellow. He's a village employee. He is driving the snow plows and the Unimogs and taking care of roads, and he had health issues, starting health issues, and so he was getting tired, and the flu got to him pretty heavy. So his overall health improved dramatically. He is like, his wife told me that he's like in his mid 40s now, and not only that, his eyesight improved from a 3 to a 3 dioptrin to 1. And he doesn't need to wake up 3 times a night to urinate. It went down to 1 or even no time waking up to urinate at night, and he lost weight. And what he did, as well as his doctor told him that he has fibromyalgia, because he had these rheumatic joint pains, and so he thought he was like, okay, that's it, and now I'm just waiting for my pension and then to die. And now he's a totally happy guy. He's 61 years old. He's absolutely happy because he has no pains anymore. Isn't that incredible?
Well, it's incredible but wonderful, of course. And again, it just shows you what getting adequate nutrients can do.
Well, that's your work. I just put that into action and motion, what you are talking about. That's all your job. I thank you for that.
Well, thank you. You know, it's what I love research.
Well, I do as well.
Yeah, and it's great to have someone else doing it.
So what
Miles?
Go ahead, Vince.
Miles, I have a question for you. When you talked about the 61-year-old and you talked about his wife, I thought that you were going to say, you know, there's this renewed energy, and this guy is now chasing his wife around the house.
Yes, he does.
Is that
You were talking about the erectile dysfunction in the first segment, so that's what he had, and that changed.
That's why I was laughing. I just had this vision of his wife saying, "Miles, knock it off."
Well, that's I didn't know what was happening when she came, but I was very happy to hear that both of their lifestyles totally improved, and they are coming. You know, they're not very wealthy people; they're just regular people, and it works. Class, it works. You need to do something.
Dr. Shealy, if I were to post this recipe on the internet, would that be considered practicing medicine, or would that be okay? What do you think?
Well, you could just tell them you post it as the outcome of a listener's experience.
Class, Dr. Norman Shealy is with us, medical doctor. Miles has called in from Europe. And Miles, you were talking about these three men involved in the study. One was 21 years of age, one 44, that would be you, and a village employee at 61. And you mentioned that his hemorrhoids, his pain from his hemorrhoids have disappeared. Does he still have hemorrhoids?
Well, I haven't asked him. Vincent, you want to know stuff. Really, that's none of your business.
Well, I'm asking for a reason, not to be personal, but what I'm wondering if his hemorrhoids have shrunken, and this is something that a lot of people who sit for a living, either behind the wheel of a truck or vehicle, they would love to know this.
So what happened was he had a so-called outsacking in his sphincter. And that outsacking from time to time started bleeding, especially when his blood pressure went up or when he had to empty his bowel because the stool was pretty hard. And this led to sometimes even infections for him. And he had no bleeding in 2 weeks now, and he had no more pains. And so the correlation between the pains in the sphincter and the alkalinity level, there is a correlation between that. That's his words. Okay, I'm not a doctor. I cannot confirm that, but this is what he observed. So keeping your body alkaline and giving the body the nutrients it needs in order to repair itself definitely will have a positive effect. To what kind of extent that effect to the individual body is, I really can't say anything to that.
Okay.
But if you want to, I give you the entire regimen because there are 4 items or 5 items that are still that are in this regimen as well, and this is like 2 to 3 times a week, 1 capsule of digestive enzymes, then 2 to 3 times a week, 400 milligrams of magnesium in the evening before going to bed or after supper or dinner. And 2 to 3 times a week, glucosamine 1,000 milligrams. And for the magnesium depletion of the sports guys, we had a foot bath, like two times a foot bath for 1 hour in magnesium chlorate hexahydrate, and once a week a bath for 1 to 1.5 hour in magnesium chlorate hexahydrate.
And what was the one capsule of digestive enzyme, and what was after that?
400 milligrams of magnesium, 2 to 3 times a week in the evening. This is for the sport guys that have that are heavily moving their muscles.
Okay.
Glucosamine.
Dr. Shealy, what are your
Yep.
and glucosamine 1,000 milligrams.
Yes.
Now, my only problem with that particular one is that I would not be able to take 400 milligrams of magnesium orally. Any oral magnesium gives me diarrhea.
The one with the hemorrhoids loved it.
Yeah, no. Well, but the diatomaceous earth also was a particularly good one for him. But yeah, I mean, people who have hemorrhoids usually have a problem with constipation, and so they could, not have diarrhea, but just have normal bowel movements, maybe with that.
And Miles, how about your results?
Well, I was the reference for that because I'm already on that regime for a long time now, and so I was the reference model to both of them in order to find out what kind of changes the body does. And one interesting change was the clearing up of the iris of the retina, and the color of the iris started to be, with both of them, clear blue again. Mm-hmm. There was a yellow ring on the inner side of the iris that almost cleared up with the younger folk, and decreased with the older folk.
It's called arcus senilis, actually, and is an indication of aging. And again, that's a remarkably quick reversal. Well,
I have to say to that here, we have very good water. We have primal water here. So the cell nutrition with our water here is pretty good. But even here, the big corporations with their feed regulations, they're already here as well. We don't have that much GMO food. Actually, we are one of the healthiest region in the entire country here. So even if we do have these results, I would like to find out what the results are with some of the city slickers in the big cities in Europe that suffer even more problems.
Well, of course.
It's pretty interesting. Every time I go shopping and I see men with lots of gray hair or their beard hair is graying up and their skin color is reddish, I see starving people now.
Yep. Well, it is, again, common sense taken to the human lab.
Well, the body is your household. And if you use the wrong bricks and the wrong mortar to keep it together, that house will fall apart.
Right.
And if you don't learn that, this is the first line of defense. This is the absolute first line of defense. And I'm putting everybody on notice about that. Because if you don't learn how to work your body, you're prone to die quicker than you think. You don't need hospitals like Mercy then. You can stay home for that.
Miles, I'm listening to what you're saying intently, and you're talking about the skin color, reddish skin color, and the white, the lightening of the beard and the hair. Dr. Shealy, is that something that you take into account when you look at a patient for the first time? Do you notice this right away, and does that give you part of your diagnoses?
Well, it depends on the age, of course. In general, if people are significantly graying before age 50, I'd certainly pay attention to it. Mm-hmm. There are some genetic aspects there, but there's no question it also is highly related to adequate nutrition.
And what about copper as a supplement to return white hair to, the former color?
Well, of course, you need a little bit of zinc and a little bit less copper, roughly 5 to 1. Overall, I like what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Dr. Shealy, do you have Do you have a thought as to what is the most significant component, or are all of these components interrelated in the regimen that Miles is using?
Yeah, it is interrelated. Taking only one of them would almost certainly not do a great deal.
Okay. And Miles, you mentioned MSM 2 capsules. So for those who are listening to the broadcast for the first time, are you suggesting that you buy MSM in bulk, or is this prepackaged?
Let me tell you how I do that. I buy everything in bulk, and I put everything in capsules myself. Number one, I know what I have. I know what kind of agents there are in there to dilute something or not. So I have the control over everything. And basically, this is how you need to regiment yourself to that. You need to know what to take in, and you need to take care of the building blocks, where you get them from, and that they're pure. So I buy MSM like in 2-pound bulk. And I pack it in these. I pack it myself in with a capsulator into these little capsules.
Okay, and then you use the number 0 capsule. So you have a capsule machine. Is that correct?
I have capsule machines for 00, for 0, and for, I think it's 000 that I don't use very often, though. But other than that, there are health stores if you don't want to encapsulate that. So the minimum amount of that what you could do for your body is go to a health store of your choice and find out about these products there. Ask what's in there.
Mm-hmm. Do you do the same with vitamin C, Miles? Do you put them in capsules yourself? Do you buy that in bulk?
Sometimes I do that. We use lots of rose hips here and for the horses, so we sometimes eat even some rose hips here. And yes, I love horses, so I have horse vitamins, and I even sometimes pop a pill of horse vitamins because what's good for the horse, for an expensive horse, cannot be bad for me. So I try to get the vitamin C that is out of rose hips.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And arginine, how do you buy that already packaged, or can you buy that in bulk as well?
You can buy that in bulk as well. You can buy every amino acid as a single item, or you can go and get them like pre-packed and for sports and bodybuilding, or you go to a health store like GNC and can buy these then there. But with amino acids, I'm not very sure about that. And I'd like to ask Dr. Shealy about that. I'm taking a capsule of amino acids every day. One, I'm not a sportsman. Like if you do muscle buildup and things, you probably need more. But I think a combined all-in-one amino acids, 1 capsule a day. Do you think this is adequate, or is that?
Well, I don't know how many milligrams of each is in it. That would, but at least it provides you the probability that you won't be missing one essential amino acid. It can happen in certain diets.
Miles, will you have time during this break to find out what amino acids you are taking? And,
I do.
Share that with us when we come back?
Sure, I do.
Okay, there you go. Dr. Shealy's with us, medical doctor, normshealy.com, and Miles from Europe. Class, very quickly, for those of you who listened to the broadcast yesterday afternoon with John Stadtmiller on Republic Broadcasting, I invited Mercy Hospital's nurse, Lacey Phillips, to call in and make her statements about what she thought happened and what the hospital was going to do to fix it. And instead of her calling in, another hospital employee from radiology called in from Mercy Hospital and added more fuel to the fire, the problems that Mercy is having. And she will be on the air with us. Her name is Nancy. She will be on the air with us on the 15th. So that's next Tuesday at 9 o'clock Central. Nancy, the radiologist from Mercy, will be on the air with us. And also, Miles called me this morning, and he will be on the air with us for 2 hours on Friday. That's this Friday. Is that correct, Miles? Do we have Miles?
I apologize. My microphone was muted. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I will be there on Friday.
Okay. And Miles, you were looking into the amino acids to share with Dr. Shealy because he had some questions.
Okay, this is I just grabbed a box of one that I used to buy in America. It's from the brand GNC. It's called Superior Amino 2222 tabs. And its content is with the essential amino acids, conditionally essential amino acids, and non-essential amino acids. I go to the numbers. Tryptophan, 40 milligrams. Valine, 130 milligrams. Threonine, 109 milligrams. Isoleucine, 130 milligrams, leucine, 240 milligrams, and lysine, 159, phenylalanine, 89, and methionine, 40 milligrams. Then it has the arginine, 120, cysteine, 30, tyrosine, 70, histidine, 40, proline, 130, and glutamic acid or glutamine, 388. And the last one is aspartic acid. It's 239, serine 100, glycine 69, and alanine 99.
Well, and you take one or two of those a day?
One.
Okay. The chances are, with an otherwise good diet, you're certainly not going to be amino acid deficient. That's the important thing. Now, the interesting thing is it does not apparently contain my most favorite, which is taurine. And taurine is the one that vegans are deficient in because there is really no taurine in anything but animal products.
Or in Red Bull.
I'm sorry?
And the energy drink Red Bull that nobody should drink. Out goes another sponsor.
Yeah. I mean, you don't take it in those stupid energy drinks. They're poison. But taurine is deficient, for instance, in 84% of depressed people.
Wow.
Now, if you're not depressed, you don't need to worry about it. But for those people who are depressed, I actually give them up to 3,000 milligrams a day.
Well, that's a number.
And also helps blood pressure control, by the way, remarkably.
Doc, what are your thoughts about L-cysteine as a pre-step for glutathione?
Well, yeah, it's good. No question about it.
Okay. Would you prefer the glutathione to take or the L-cysteine? Is that okay? Is there a benefit with L-cysteine?
I think it's okay either way.
Okay, because that would be like getting heavy metals out of your body and
Right.
products out of your body faster.
Yep.
That shouldn't be in there.
Detox, yeah.
Yep, detox. So I will add the L-cysteine or the glutathione. I will make up my mind with that while I go with that. What kind of these products I will add to my diet. Class, I thank you very much. I hope everybody learned something out of that, and this is a call to action for you.
Miles, thank you so much for calling. One quick question for Dr. Shealy. Dr. Shealy, should most people take amino acids as a supplement?
If they're eating a really broad-based animal protein, I don't think so. But it certainly can't harm.
Okay. That's Dr. Norman Shealy, normshealy.com. Please consider signing up for his free newsletter. He will not share your information with anyone. It's just so you can receive it free by email. Thank you, Dr. Norman Shealy.
Have a good one.
Class, above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you.